traveled all the way to Montreal, Canada to visit the developers of Dead by Daylight to interview them and ask them some crazy good questions. So sit back, grab a drink and a snack, relax, and enjoy.
I can say what you do.
Could I say what you do?
Yeah, try it.
All right. Alrighty.
Cote, head of partnerships.
What do I do?
You talk with licensors and get us deals.
Among other things, yeah, I do that. And that's Rose. Hi, Rose.
Hello.
Rose is in charge of all the cosmetics that we have in the game. And she handles a very full calendar of what's going to be released when.
I mean, that's a perfect segue to know, what do you guys do just on your day-to-day? How does your day-to-day go? Everyone says is the devs don't do anything. So what are you guys doing every day?
So I tried to reach Rose. I tried to reach Dave.
Yeah.
I tried to reach people who are stuck in meetings, which is the bane of our existence. But that we don't have a choice. That's how we have to do. We have to talk to each other and try to figure out what's next. We're not the ones creating the stuff. We're not the ones fixing the stuff for the most part. And we both work in the future.
True.
Most of our time is spent in 2028 now, something like that.
7 is full, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy to think. You, Matthew, obviously have been in the company for a long time. As you said, Rose, you have worked pretty much on all of the cosmetics. What are some of your favorite memories from DBD itself? Maybe your favorite cosmetic you've worked on, your favorite licenses you brought in, or maybe as a collaborative, what is something that Matthew maybe brought in that you were super excited to get your hands on, and vice versa, you were super impressed to see how some of these crazy licenses were now shaped into Dead by Daylight?
I was super excited when Mathieu came to us and was like, hey, we're getting Alien. That was one of the largest moments for me, because I'd always thought like, hey, Disney, such a large corporation, they might not want to actually do something. They're also super strict on their rules and stuff. But we were actually able to sign that deal and get the Xenomorph and Ripley into game.
We're lucky for that, because Behavior has worked with Disney in the past many times as part of our work for hire, right? So we already knew them, and we had already built some trust that we could handle their property correctly. I mean, making Disney princess games is demanding. Like, we've done that in the past, like old 2DS games or whatnot, and they give you a book of what a princess can do, what she cannot do, how high her elbows can go up. Like, it's extremely precise. And so we've proven in the past that we can do that kind of thing, and we can respect people's properties. I think it's why we were able to do what we've done in the last 10 years with DBD. Yeah. I'm just gonna try to find, I mean, my favorite moment's impossible. It's just been 10 amazing years. Iron Maiden is pretty damn cool. It's pretty damn cool, and it was kind of out there. Announcing Nick Cage was crazy. We were just talking earlier about the recording session also. Just witnessing Nick Cage reading lines that we wrote. He's good. Like, he's a hard worker. He is a professional, and he delivered gold every single second he was on that mic.
It was like improvising the whole kind too.
Well,
That's awesome.
we gave him a lot of lines, and then every time he read a line, we'd say, okay, now do your own version. Like, do a riff on that. And he did. And some of the stuff is insane and will never see the light of day. And some of it, maybe. Okay.
It's great. As you said, Alien was one of your favorite chapters. Seeing all the blighted skins coming in and being able to work on such an iconic IP, and then again, turning it into Dead by Daylight. And especially with the strict guidelines that Disney provides, you guys being able to do that. How was it working on that? And Matthew, how was it seeing that in the world of DBD itself?
The blighted collections are always really interesting, because it's usually just a binary thing, right? Some licensors, they just don't allow us to create anything that has not been seen in the source material, and that's absolutely fine. Halloween is a good example of that. It's very strict. These are the things that we are allowed to do regarding their character. Freddy is the same. Like, it's a very small box. This is what we're allowed. It's a little sad. We wish we could do a ton more, but it's fine. It's their license. They're allowed to use it and share it in the way that they want. But when we have licensors who are open to it, and And mostly it's not just a matter of being open to it. It's a matter of, are they allowed to do it? Like
Right.
some of them, they just can't. They're managing a catalog for someone else or something. It's very complex, the world of licensing. But when they can, it's super fun, right? We can just create stuff, and then they tend to, well, at least they know what we're up to, so they are open to it. And then if they have influence, like if they want to jump in and tell us, no, it should be a little more like this, within certain measure, it becomes something that's super fun to work on.
I think the best example of the Hollowed Blight collection with a licensor is the Lionsgate Pig one.
Yeah.
It was
Sounds
very
impressive.
unique. We spent a lot of time on it with the licensor. They were able to give us some suggestions as well on what to do. I like the hair and all the placements of the splatters of blight. So yeah, that one turned out really
Because that's the thing, right? Whenever we do licenses, and whether it's a creation like the Blighted Effect or it's the original thing, whenever you're working with licensors, it's always adding a layer of complexity to whatever we're trying to do. Like it means approvals, it means more communications, it means more meetings, it means more time spent on creating a thing rather than original chapters. But it's fun, and especially if you're working with people like another good example would be something like the Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I mean, these people created things that essentially, to me, they're still like when I was a kid, they made me want to make video games, right? They're heroes of us to a certain extent. So yeah, that's kind of awesome to be able to work with them. Not saying Lionsgate aren't awesome, but it's a different thing.
And on that topic, are there any cosmetics that you are just especially proud of creating? And same with licenses, ones that you brought in that you're like, I can't believe I've done that. Holy shit.
Can we only pick one?
You can pick multiple by all means.
A collection, maybe?
Yeah.
My favorite is still the Attack on Titan collection.
It was big. It was impressive.
It was so good. We combined that anime style with realistic DVD, made something unique, but still true to both source materials. I think that is still the best example.
The Iron Maiden dredge is so shit crazy, right? It's so good. And they loved it, which was awesome. That to me, that's probably my favorite. Some of the stuff we've done with the Unknown also is very, very creative and super fun.
Clown and Dredge always are really great canvases for outfits.
Some of the clown stuff is good too.
The rooster.
The elephant.
Elephant, chicken,
I want to say the Bride of Chucky, I'm also really proud of. Mainly because we got the voice into the...
I mean, as a good team, you bring it in, she turns it into DVD, it works perfectly.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk also a lot about the list, right? That mystical list that we keep together. That's an Excel sheet that just never stops growing. That has every single thing we've ever mentioned. Even the stupidest thing that everybody said no immediately, it's still on there, right? Because it's part of the archives. Yeah. One day we might be able to share that, but it's a crazy list, right?
Has there ever been anything you guys maybe kind of push and are like, hey, maybe the licensors would like this, and they ended up liking it?
Yes, there's a couple of things where we sort of took a wild pot shot and said,
There's one that hasn't been released yet. But we have an outfit coming up for Pyramid Head that we didn't think would get approved. Pitched it to Konami and they actually said yes. I was allowed to say this.
Yeah, sure. You can say whatever you want. It's okay.
You heard it here first.
It's super cool. Like, we take a lot of inspiration from the original titles, combine it into something really cool in DVD. So
there's a couple of licenses also that we said, oh, that would be so awesome. And then we reached out and they said no. And that was sad. There's one
that is eternal pain.
Yeah. It's okay. Well, yeah, some of them will keep pushing forever. Like,
But we do take a lot of reference from like players lists. Like, there are all those lists on community, Reddit, those votings that we keep tabs of.
We do look at that.
Player pulse.
The player polls.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Pyramid Head. Everyone's going to ask if you nerfed his butt again or not.
We never nerfed his butt.
That has been debunked.
And we also pay close attention to all those all 13 hills now.
Yeah. feet, for instance.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We can't debunk that one, actually.
No,
honestly.
there are feet. There
There
are feet.
are many feet.
And shaved heads.
Is
Yeah.
that a thing?
Yeah, that is a thing.
Okay.
Feet and
Okay.
shaved heads.
Okay, sure.
We'll roll with it.
There'll be more.
We'll do what the community wants, honestly. So if we're, I'm not sure.
It's just the new dread skin, just all feet. Again, you guys said you guys are pretty much living in the future, but obviously you can't talk about those things. But
One of the most frustrating parts of the job, honestly.
you could just tell me
Sure. Off the record.
off the record. But
That's our new segment called Off the Record. No.
is there just some wild or crazy things that you guys specifically want coming into TBD that's just out there that you would just love to get your hands on?
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem with these questions
Yeah.
is that if it's completely ridiculous and never going to happen, it doesn't make for a great answer and it's sort of frustrating.
True.
And if there's a sliver of a chance that it might, then we can't say anything, right?
That's
so-
true.
Yeah.
Well, now you just closed my mouth.
No, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Those put something under.
Worst comes to worst, someone will bleep it afterwards. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so my wildest dream is to get.
Hey, sorry to break the immersion, but please consider subscribing down below. This video took a lot of time and effort, and I would really appreciate it if you just click the button down below. I'm trying to hit 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it'd mean the world to me if you click subscribe.
Jurassic World into DVD. I've been pushing it forever. Like, but you knows, I've been like, can we get a Velociraptor killer into DVD? That is my wildest dream. But
T-Rex.
a T-Rex is a bit large and it looks comic if you shrink it a bit. But if we could make it as large as it should be, yes.
Maybe because maybe it's not Jaws, maybe it's the Meg or Anaconda or something.
All right.
Not the dumbest thing I've said today.
The Kraken.
Shifting gears a little bit, I mean, the biggest thing right now is Tokyo Ghoul coming into Dead by Daylight. That was amazing. I stayed up watching every single episode on the first season just to make sure I understood every reference and I don't look like an idiot. First anime I ever watched as well,
Oh, really?
ever. So super impressed. I enjoyed it. But talk to me about Tokyo Ghoul. Every time I ever see something that's a little bit more outlandish, and you said it in our previous interview, of course people will bitch. You guys continue to push the envelope in a good way. I think it's a good thing. And you guys find unique and interesting ways to continue to one-up yourself, bringing something like Tokyo Ghoul. How did something like that even come about, and what made you feel that it was a good fit for it to come into DBT?
The sort of simple answer to this is, over the last 8-9 years now, we've built up a world that is sturdy enough to allow for these sort of outlandish ideas to come in without diluting the essence of what Dead by Daylight is about.
Right.
We've created rules to our universe that now allow for these kind of different time streams or multiverse ideas or whatever. So that narratively, we can bring something in that is a little crazier,
Right.
a little bit more out there.
Out of the box.
And we don't break our fiction, which is extremely important. And our world has now become a place where all these things get folded into. And also we've become better at using the tools that we have in Dead by Daylight, whether it's design tools or art tools, to portray things in a different way. Tokyo Ghoul is a good example. I mean, the source material is 2D, right? And being able to make the jump to 3D and make sure that it still looks the part and it still feels true to its root is something that we couldn't have done before. It's the same sort of argument for Alien, right? For the longest time, we were like, we just can't do it.
Right.
And at some point, it was mostly an animation pipeline issue at the time. At some point, we're like, we probably can now. And that was good enough for us to say, okay, we're going to do it. You guys figure it out, right? And it's the same today. I think we've grown it in a way that it's okay to sort of expand in different ways, and it sort of blobs out and it still retains its essence.
Yeah. Very well put answer. Because everyone in the comments all the time, they're like, well, this is so far from horror, it doesn't fit. And I'm like, this is perfect. It works.
Mathieu gave the more creative edit answer. For me, I was just looking at the player pulses. Because we had like sections of anime, movies, TV shows. And in the anime one, Tokyo Ghoul was like top 3.
Right.
So I was like, well, people want this and can make it happen. So
yeah, same as we mentioned with Attack on Titan. How was it though, working on some of the cosmetics? It was announced like rabbits coming into the game, Ito. How was it bringing those characters to life?
a lot of work. But yeah, it's always the same with licensors because we have to work with them to make sure we're true to their source material. We also have to make sure they fit in DVD. We also want to do the best we can so that fan service wise, all of the fans of Tokyo Ghoul and fans of DBD are happy.
Right.
It's not that easy to find a balance in between it, but I think we have been trying to strike a balance between the two for most of the licenses we've done so far. And for Tokyo Ghoul, it really was like the essence of everything coming together to make it work.
Right.
So it was really exciting.
It'd be nice to be able to release something and really take a beat to enjoy the success of the release, but usually we don't have that luxury.
Right.
Because the moment we're releasing, we're already working on the next thing, and by that time, and it's a shame because we work really hard and we get to feel all the stress and the tension and the frustration of the creative process. And then when the release is out, like I was lucky. I was in Japan when we released Tokyo Ghoul, and I saw it's stressful because, I mean, if you screw up Tokyo Ghoul in Japan, yeah, you're fine. but the fans loved it. They were really appreciative, and that was a direct relationship at that time. And I was sort of forced to take a beat and really go, oh shit, we did something right. Okay, let's enjoy the success for a moment there.
For sure.
So yeah, you should do that once in a while.
You mean go to Japan when we're launching an anime chapter?
I was just taking a moment to enjoy the success, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we do that like on the day of release for an hour when it's released.
So luxurious.
Just looking at the numbers and like, I think they liked it.
But it's true, it's stressful, it's tense, and the cadence is not slowing down. But that's not exactly true, because we've decided to slow down a couple of things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
quality of life for you and for us.
Yeah. So how long do these things go in the pipeline from the time that it's inked and you know Tokyo Ghoul is coming?
Oh, inked?
Yes. So from the moment when we have an agreement to the that's a.
I'm sorry. This was such a traumatizing moment.
Without naming anybody, but to answer the question, which was the usual timeline, from the moment we decide, okay, let's do it, to the moment it releases, between 9 and 12 months average, ideally. Yeah. We've done some stuff that's a little shorter, especially if it's collections, it's easier. If there's no power involved, if there's no killer or perks, it can go a little faster. But even then, usually our calendar is already filled for the next.
Yeah. Especially if we want the more like higher rarity outfits, legendary, visceral, then yeah, those take a little bit longer. Also 9 months-ish.
They would kill me if I didn't talk about this. You guys are going to do your anniversary over at PAX, and that should be quite fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully I see you
Going
guys
back home,
again.
essentially.
Yeah. And FNAF is coming.
Yeah.
How excited are you guys for FNAF joining the fog?
Very.
Yeah. So we're in the thick of it now. So it's really intense, and there's a lot of efforts being put into it. It's a lot of tension. It's a lot of stress. But there's a lot of cool stuff. Because that's the thing, right? Whenever we release a chapter, we try to outdo ourselves. We try to do a little more. But then that becomes the bar for the next one. We can't do worse, so we'll have to do just a little more, and every single time, but we don't have more time. So, yeah, there's a lot to do in FNAF, but it's gonna be cool.
Like, we've been waiting for this chapter to happen for such a long time. We really, really want to do it justice. So we've been listening to all these small details, just trying to talk with the licensor how we can make every single detail perfect and true to the whole franchise, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The licensors, they know their fans better than we do.
Right.
They know what's important to them, what little detail people are gonna just hang on to, and which ones they're gonna really be excited to see. So we have to trust them on that.
Well, I won't push you guys anymore. I know you can't talk about anything, but I know you guys are cooking. I'm excited to see everything.
Constantly.
Yep.
We're sitting in a frying pan. It's very comfortable.
Hello, I'm Eric Pope. I'm the Community Director here at Behavior, working on Dead by Daylight with this delightful man.
But what does that do? What are you doing exactly?
If someone could tell me, that would be a great help. So I have a wonderful team, actually. We are out spread across all the channels where DVD players are, even in different languages, different regions. And we try to compile and synthesize as much of that feedback from those various different voices to bring this guy and his team helpful information and feedback on what they thought of this release or this reveal that's coming, that sort of thing, so we can make the game better.
Amazing. And I'm Dave. I'm the creative director on Dead by Daylight. And my job is to inspire and guide an amazing team to create the amazing content that you can play with every day.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, for giving me the time. It's going to be pretty good. It should be a good interview. We'll start off, Dave. You're obviously responsible for the creative vision. Eric, you're responsible for the community. How do you guys balance everything, keeping the sense of the mystery stuff when it comes down to the creative decision, and then for you to give it to the community and working together on that? For example, maybe a new chapter is coming out. You want to keep that mystery, and then you need to translate that to the community.
Wow. It's a good question. It's extremely challenging, and it's something that we start thinking about day zero. You know, as soon as we know that there's going to be another chapter, and we can start this process 9 to 12 months before it actually releases. And straight up day zero, we always have the community in mind, and how we will announce this, but how we will support it, and how, what's going to be the impact on them.
Exactly. And I was going to make that point. The best scenario case was, which I'm sure the players would agree to, All Things Wicked with the Unknown. So the way we kick things off on a new killer, new survivor, whatever, Dave does a creative deck. Here's what it is. Here's what their ins and outs are. And from the beginning, we had this idea. You had this idea of the lo-fi found footage approach, which gave us such a direction right away that it made it really easy to do All Things Wicked. And then it's always different depending on the release, right? Like sometimes we need to be a little more constrained. Sometimes we have a little runway to do some teasing before PTB, things like that. It's a little different depending on the content each time.
So you guys are obviously hands-on creative community, kind of together. Are there any crazy fan theories that you guys just absolutely love? Like it just keeps popping up all the time. Oh, anything that you guys are, or maybe even like go as far as saying it's canon, like you like just accept that this is now factual.
Yeah, that I'm not sure, but one core component of DBD is that we want to be unknowable. So a lot of what we create is on purpose mysterious and unexplained, so that these theories come about. We just love when this happens. But anecdotally, I don't know if you have one specific this year.
I don't. I have one anecdote that I will give credit to this man, Schmuckles. So he watches my Twitter account. Today, apparently, he did a video on something I did. Calm down. One of my very good friends, his name is John Drake. He works at Disney. Happens to be a VP at Disney. And because we're friends, months and months before Alien happened, Schmuckles made a video. This means Alien's coming. And it was not connected at all. But because of that, it's always stuck with me. Like, I bet he thinks he called this. It wasn't so much a fan theory, but it was a Schmuckles theory. And I guess he was right.
Yeah, on a technicality, yeah. Working with you guys very closely on different projects, different things, I hear a lot of crazy rumors. For example, I'm a Fog Whisperer. people think that I get paid to say nice things all the time. Is there something that you guys specifically wish that maybe there was just, you wish the community just understood a little bit better? Like, no, that's just not exactly it. This is more so the way it is in reality.
I have a big one. I wish more people accepted the PTB for the reason we do the PTB. People get really upset when certain changes are in PTB, and the whole point is we want to test those changes.
Right.
And they react as if it's a live change. I wish there's a little more balance there, because like that's our chance to actually see,
Right.
Does it work? Then if it doesn't, we're going to change it. That's why we have it. It makes me a little sad when we do like, here's the thing we want to try, and before it's even in the PTB, a lot of the decisions have already been made. It's like, that's the one thing I wish people would kind of embrace a little bit more, because it's a great thing. I've worked on a lot of games, and there have not been a lot where we have a PTB to be able to test things out. It's a really good tool for us.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity like this to be able to talk to your community.
For sure.
And others in the Dead by Daylight community. You know, I'm not complaining because I love my job and we're all very passionate on this project. Game development is difficult, and also time and money is limited. And so what I'd like folks to know is that we take this project at heart. We put all of our passion in it, and we have every day to make difficult choices on what we can and cannot do because of these limits. So yeah, you know, a lot of the time it's going to be, you know, you choose, you would prefer to have something in the game and it's not happening. We know it, we acknowledge it, we want to know these things, but you know, sometimes it has to wait.
Well thought out answer. Like I said, the same thing happens to me all the time, and working closely with you guys, I hear some of the wildest things all the time. If I say something bad, people say I never say anything positive. If I say something positive, they say I'm a shill. So there's no winning. But switching gears a little bit, I'm going to toss you guys a couple hard balls here. We'll start with you, Dave.
Okay.
So a lot of folks in the community that especially love the lore, they are very curious if at some point in the future, there might be more ways of you telling the lore just beyond the tomes itself, having that dedicated piece. Is that a big picture thing you guys have in mind? Are you guys more comfortable sticking with the tomes? Is there any updates you could give us?
Oh, that's a great question. I love lore. I'm a big fan of hidden lore in environments and games and little items, little story here and there, and especially the theory crafted around all of these. So you should know that narrative and lore is a part of a core pillar of Dead by Daylight.
Right.
So it's important for us to have this as part of our game. And like anything else, we are looking into avenues on how to make this evolve and more easier to get and to consume for our players. So I won't be able to go in details, no promises as always, but yeah, it's definitely something that is close to our hearts.
That's good to know. I'm sure all the lore buffs will be happy.
Awesome. Eric, some cool things coming fairly soon that Dave is not talking about. So no, it's really neat to, my job, right, is like they're doing all the work and I'm just sort of hovering above, like what are the players going to get excited about? What do we do with this piece and that? When it's in development, and the lore stuff is the coolest to be the fly on the wall, because they can go anywhere with it, and just all the options and opportunities we have. And one thing I do try at every opportunity is explain to the dev team how valuable lore is to the community.
Right.
It drives so much conversation. It drives a lot of love for the game. It drives a lot of people put their life into cosplaying because of the lore. It's not always just because of the way the person looks. So I try to reinforce that whenever I can, because there are certain things in game dev that's hard to put like a value sign on. Lore is kind of one of them. So that's always one that I try to jump in and
for sure. Now,
what are you looking forward to? What would be your dream lore device?
I really wish that this is a crazy one, as you level up a character, let's say you go prestige 25, 50, 75, 100, with addition of rewards, you get more in-depth into the character, similar to the tomes, but I feel like a lot of players might not specifically look at the tome because it is separated, but if you unlock a cutscene, like boom, you just hit prestige 25, a cutscene plays with, let's say, Meg. She's there and you learn a little bit more about her. And obviously, community members will share this, but it will still be a cool accomplishment for someone to see and then learn even more about their character specifically. Just something that's fully integrated rather than separated. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is noted. Consider it stolen.
However, so one of the biggest things that I see within the community is DBD and transparency. Obviously, you're heavily involved with the community. How do you go about balancing and make sure you're tackling the transparency act of everything to make sure that the fans are feeling like we're involved in conversations, the door's open, and not necessarily keeping secrets, so to say, but still keeping them into the loop and in the conversations?
It's a hard balance to do, but it's also like one of the best aspects of the job. Every time we are able to do a certain communication that we know is quite transparent, we feel like, okay, that's a small win, because that's how you build trust, and trust with your community is everything. So we have a ton of support from the dev team, and that's all. Like, you can't be transparent unless you have that dev team backing you.
Right.
As if I'm just saying things and I don't know that it's actually going to be delivered, the trust goes out the window.
Right.
So anything that we communicate, we know for sure is happening, or if we're doing like a postmortem type thing, that people are all aligned. This is the message. It's a huge part of what we do. We're trying to do it more lately as well.
Yeah.
And having the support of the devs to put those sorts of communications out is everything, because it's kind of scary, because it's showing your dirty laundry, I guess, in certain cases. So it takes courage on the dev side. So I'm super thankful that we have that sort of support.
Oh, and we're super grateful to have you on board, because I mean, this is tough work. Yeah,
It's tough, yeah.
For sure. Great answer. I'm sure the community will be quite thrilled with that. So one thing about DBD, you've obviously been here for a very long time within the company. DBD evolves every single time. Even looking back at last year compared to what we have now with like Tokyo Ghoul, FNAF on the horizon, it evolves quite rapidly. The bar keeps on going, and somehow you guys find a way to top it each and every year. What are some of the things that you guys have noticed specifically that just keeps going and you're like, wow, we actually done that? Something that sticks out to you, whether that's with the community or the creative side. I know a lot of the times, every time I speak to the devs, they're very happy to have like Alien, for example, because a few years back you said it wasn't even possible, and then to see your team be able to bring it into light. What are just some of the things you've noticed over the years that you're just proud of, essentially?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Good question. Well, I mean, I have to say that every time we pitch for either a license that's coming to the team or an original chapter and the teams around that, usually the team is pumped. They're like, first second, they're like, yeah, there's something to do with that. We'll do something great. So it's easy. Like, the team is so passionate. They want to have these new creative spaces to be able to express themselves or represent a universe that they know, and they love. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the team. And now we can reinvent ourselves, find a new niche in gameplay and in fantasy. But it's not the most challenging part. If I can also answer something else of, one thing that flabbergasts me at almost every release is that we can come up with new perks.
Yes.
And every time it's like, okay, yeah, it's at least 6 per chapter when there's a killer and a survivor. And man, it's crazy. And I know also that we design about 12 for every character at every patch, right? We only take the best 3. So it's pretty impressive.
It's super impressive. I don't have an answer as good as Dave. But the one thing that struck me as he was talking and you were asking your question was just like, and this may be way off topic at this point, but
go for it.
Nicolas Cage. When we got to do Nicolas Cage, it was such a, am I really here moment?
Yeah.
Like, my whole adult life, I've been a ridiculous Nicolas Cage fan. Not ironically, I think he's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And I've followed his career super closely, and my friends know this. And we had a thing called the Nick Cage Promise Keepers. Promise was every time he released a movie, we'd go at midnight on releasing. Super big Nick Cage. So when we found out this was actually happening, I was like, I'm still in disbelief. However long later, year and a half later, and those are kind of the wow moments of being able to work on DVD. You're right that like instantly when you do the opening lines of a pitch, you tell them what the license is, and everyone starts reacting. It's like, okay, we're on the right path.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, big shock for sure. On the topic of big shocks, recently I've seen some really great tweets from DVD. Absolutely fantastic. One of the ones that stood out for me, I'm curious which ones stand out to you, if anything, that the community has engaged with, and you're like, what the hell? Duolingo and DVD absolutely blew up. What's something for you guys that just stood out and you're like, wow, what is the community even on this time?
I'll let you start on that one.
I think people, we've seen some of the comments. People have been noticing we've loosened up a bit.
Yeah.
Essentially, we had a conversation and everyone was like on board, like, yeah, just have more fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. And so I have a team full of very creative, chronically online people that watching for trends, they see these things happening. And yeah, the Duolingo one was just a perfect example of like, first of all, it's ridiculous. Duolingo bird is dying or dead. Our game is about death.
Yeah.
And it was just a perfect fit. But we have a lot of ideas like that don't see the light of day. I will say, like, we have some level of creative discussion on those sorts of things.
Right.
But for sure, the entire legend of Maurice, like that, that is a thing, essentially because of the community.
Right.
You named him, of course, the horse.
Yeah.
That's the type of like community story we love to see. It's like
Absolutely.
a little tiny corner of the game. We had the dredge, and they just sort of like blew up.
Yeah, there's something that you sent me earlier this month where the dredge appeared in a Minecraft community. Oh, not the dredge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no. That was pretty crazy. Yeah.
And I sent it to him because, like I said earlier, it fit perfectly with his very first pitch of like, for the unknown, like, we don't want a traditional marketing campaign. We want people to come up with their own story, like creepypasta approach, right? We have our own, let the community create their own. And that was the exact example of that. Like, this image appeared in Minecraft in someone's game. They posted it. And then someone else who played DVD was like, oh, that's the unknown.
That's the unknown.
What is the unknown in Minecraft?
Yeah.
Just took off.
Yeah. But that's true. He's really in Minecraft.
I've seen that post too. And I was just casually scrolling through. I was like, wait a minute. It's super cool to see outside of the DVD realm how far it's transpired and gone. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. One thing that I'm very curious about, as someone that is super passionate for the game, is how community feedback is taken into account. And how does that potentially affect decisions, whether on the creative side or the community side? Just whatever the case may be. For example, if someone is talking about the lore, recently a lot of folks have been talking about Skull Merchant, and then with the balancing, they're like, well, the balancing wise and the changes that potentially could come could affect her lore wise, and it doesn't make sense. So how does things like that come into account when making decisions and moving forward?
Okay. Do you want to start with the...
I'll start with the gathering side, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So, generally we know it's coming in a release before it happens, so we have a plan to follow it, right? So Skull Merchant's a good example. We did the design preview post, which is also a new communication we're doing, trying to open the door a little bit, like, here's what we're thinking before
that transparency.
Yeah, transparency, but it also helps the designers know, like, before we even build it into a PTB, like, okay, let's try it, just tweak this approach.
Right.
So we're trying that. It's a brand new thing. We don't know if it's a full success yet. We'll see, but you're right. I saw like a mixed reaction to the latest thing. And if that is, I prefer a mixed reaction because that's where the devs can kind of do their magic. Really. We'll as many channels as possible. We try to never be channel specific because Twitter is its very own community versus Reddit.
Very true. Very true.
So if someone only lives on Twitter, like we have some devs who are just on Twitter, they're like, this is a big deal. It's like, yeah, it's a big deal on Twitter. Yeah. It's not a big deal to the community at large. So we try to bring as varied a view as possible to them, so they have the full picture. And then, like I said, those mixed ones is really where it's, up to the design expertise to say, okay, this isn't resonating, this is resonating, they're kind of at odds with each other. How do I reconcile that? That's where I think this game design is sort of like an alchemy that's beyond me. I could never do it. That's what I love about working with designers. I can just give them that problem to solve, and a lot of them like solving problems.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't do it.
And yeah, that's very important. So your team, you're the eyes and ears of the rest of the team. So, from my point of view, I don't go and fetch these comments because of all the potential biases that Eric is talking about. So to answer your original question, it is very important. It's critical. And so we've talked about the PTB, but it's at other stages of the pre-production, production, postmortem, release. Everything is pertinent as feedback in time for all of our decisions. So we navigate on three main axes. There's data, informed by data, by science. There's the art, the gut feeling, from what we want to create here and what we feel is right. And the third axis is community. The community's perception, their voice, what they think we consider as part of the team. And it's with that melting pot of information that we can take a decision.
And if I could say, I've been in Community since 2009. I'm very, very old. And I've worked on a lot of games, been in a bunch of different companies. I had never worked on a game or with a team that is as community-centric as the DBD team. For real. It is a dream job to be a community person on DBD because people listen, people care, people don't dismiss you. They actively want that feedback to help inform their decisions. It's really, really awesome. I'm not saying that because Dave's here next to me. It's very true. It's a very special thing that the DBD team has.
Yes.
Sticking on the theme with the community, they would absolutely kill me if I did not ask this or mention it or bring it up, because it was probably the most asked questions that I got. I let my community know, hey, I'm handing over to behavior. Any questions? Probably half of them was this one specifically. So final hardball for you, Eric. And then just to balance it out, we'll give Dave some quick fire questions.
Okay.
All right. So the community has been eagerly waiting for any updates to Twitch shirts and the Fog Whisperer program. Yes. They've been asking me constantly, and I was like, I don't know. I know as much as you. Is there anything that you could tell us about this? Anything that we could look forward to? Any plans?
Yes. So first of all, I super acknowledge the people who want info on the Twitch shirts. I know that that's a really important topic to people, and there are reasons that it has taken as long. It's not anything worth sharing, but there are reasons it's taken as long to get you a very clear guidelines. But what I want people to know is, if you hold on just a tiny bit longer, in May, we're going to be talking a lot more about our creator program, the future of the creator program. Twitch shirts fits into that too. So there's a lot of moving pieces behind the scenes that are coming together. Unfortunately, Twitch shirts is a piece of it that needs to be connected. So we wanted to wait till we could have the whole package.
Well, hopefully the community's satisfied. You don't have to wait too much longer. At least we know we're being acknowledged. All right, Dave, it's time for some fastball questions.
I'm ready.
I asked all my lore guys, all of the guys that are obsessed with it. Got any questions? They got some, so let's go through a few of them.
Okay, as long as you know that some lore question I cannot answer, sure. They need to stay mysterious, right?
The biggest one that I'm especially curious about, that I've been trying to do for a very long time, is translating the language of the entity.
Yes.
Is there any hints or even a direction that you could lead us towards to even get a glimmer of hope of how to do this?
Oh, yes. Okay, so there is a logic to some of the entity's language that have appeared in DBD, especially in the first years. But since then, we've moved to a clear direction that the entity must stay unknowable and unreachable, as it is a living universe that's way out of our grasp. And so it doesn't have a language. Now, that said, I love these treasure hunts, and I think it's something that we could have as part of DBD eventually, using these hints that we've placed in the game in the past. And I'll give you one, okay? Even though it leads to nothing for now, I think it's something that we will revisit in the future, maybe by exploring, one of the cult of the entity or something like that. So there are some add-ons with writing, as you know, that is coming from the entity. We're not sure. And there is in Groaning Storehouse a weird cipher or weird like drawing. So
I know exactly.
this one is the start of something that we've never continued, but eventually we might do something with it.
Huh.
So don't try to follow it right now. It will end up nowhere. Blink, blink.
All right. That's really interesting to know. I've spent a long time looking at that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've learned nothing. Normally, when I was in different communities way back in the past, I just pop on a YouTube video and be like, oh yeah, let's see what these smart guys have come up with. And then I've done that for DBD, and then I realized, wait, I'm the guy that's supposed to solve this stuff. And it's not been.
You gotta do it. They're all looking to you.
Yeah, and like when we were developing the game, pre 2016.
Yeah.
Me and the creative director Ash Panel at the time, we loved Spelunky. You played Spelunky?
No.
Okay. In Spelunky, you do very specific things in procedural levels, and it unlocks a secret ending if you do all the sequence in order. And we just love that as game dev, as gamers. Like we love these mystery hunts.
Right.
And when I was talking previously of things we have to cut because it's not necessarily critical at the time, this is exactly it. So that's why it's still not necessarily part of it, but it's something we want to do.
Very interesting to know. We'll move on to some of the other rapid fire ones. There's some awesome flavor text on one of the toolboxes that talks about tools beyond compare. Is this something that refers to the golden toolbox that we always see?
No, it doesn't. There is a mystery there, and yes, it's something that you will be able to discover eventually. There's already other hints. The golden toolbox is a fun thing implemented by our level designers. It's a side thing. Maybe we'll put it officially in the lore eventually. I don't know.
Guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's always super fun just to see how much more creative you guys get every time with these golden toolboxes. The final one on Midwich was just next level. Next level.
Yeah. It's the team is having a lot of fun with this little treat.
Yeah. I think that's actually all I may have.
Oh, well, easy.
Wow. So we shall move on to some of the community questions, which should be great. I asked all of my content creator friends to give me some questions. Most of them gave me, and some of them ghosted me, but it's okay.
Pain and shame.
Tune in 2 days, April the 9th, to watch the developers take on the content creator autofill questions. These are all pretty intense and they get really spicy, so you don't want to miss them. Make sure you're subscribed down below.